Hello, friends. You are on the Adventure Compass channel, and today we are going to an amazing city that is spread across 2 continents, Istanbul. Istanbul is not just a city, it is a living history, a fusion of cultures and an incredible atmosphere. In this video, we will walk through the historical center, admire the views from the Bosphorus, bargain at the colorful Grand Bazaar, and of course, try real Turkish cuisine. So fasten your seat belts, we are starting our journey. Istanbul is the only megalopolis in the world located on 2 continents at once, in Europe and Asia. And they are separated by the Bosphorus Strait, connecting the waters of the Black and Marmara Seas. Now Istanbul is the largest city, occupying an area of 5,461 square kilometers. Now more than 16 million people live in the Turkish megalopolis. Istanbul has stood between conflicting religions, cultures, and imperial power for more than 2,500 years. For much of that time, it has been one of the world's most desirable cities. The official date of the city's foundation is considered to be 659 BC. A little later, its first inhabitants, ethnic Greeks, named the city Byzantium in honor of the hero of the ancient Greek epic. The city was founded as a Greek colony under the name Byzantium more than 2,600 years ago. In 330 AD, the Roman Emperor Constantine the Great moved the capital of the empire to New Rome, Byzantium later known as Constantinople. The favorable geographical location between 2 seas contributed to the rapid development of trade, but this also led to the fact that Byzantium was repeatedly robbed and plundered. A new stage in the development of the city is considered to be the year 330, when the Romans seized power over the city. It was at this time that the ambitious Roman Emperor Constantine the Great moved the capital of the Roman Empire to Byzantium. Initially, it was decided to rename the city New Rome, but this name did not stick. Then Constantine named the capital Constantinople in his honor. The wealth and splendor of Constantinople, located on the Great Silk Road, could not go unnoticed. Thus, in 1204 the city was captured and plundered by the Crusaders, and 2 centuries later the Ottomans seized power over the rebuilt Byzantine Empire. In 1453, the Ottoman Turks, who by that time had already captured lands in Europe and Asia in the immediate vicinity of the city, entered Constantinople. The former Byzantine capital became the capital of the Ottoman Empire. The new rulers rebuilt the city, turning churches into mosques. From a Christian capital, Constantinople began to turn into the center of the Islamic Caliphate. A special role in the restoration of the city belongs to Sultan Mehmed II. It was during his reign that the world-famous Topkapi Palace was built. At the same time the largest covered city market, the Grand Bazaar, was founded. After Mehmed II, the reign of Suleiman the Magnificent began 1522 to 1566. Historians call the reign of Sultan Suleiman the Golden Age of Constantinople. Under his leadership, many mosques were built, the most famous of which is Suleymani. The Sultan paid much attention to education and charity. During his reign, educational centers, madrasas and inns for the poor appeared in the city. Since the 19th century, the city has gradually become Europeanized. The influence of such styles as Baroque and Rococo is increasingly noticeable in architecture. The Galata Bridge is built and put into use, shipping and rail transport are developing. But such a tasty morsel could not remain without the attention of invaders for long. In 1919, the Greeks, English and French tried to capture Constantinople. The Turkish liberation movement led by Mustafa put up active resistance to the troops. Much later, he was awarded the title of Ataturk, Father of the Nation. Turkey celebrates Republic Day in autumn. In 1918, the Ottoman Empire collapsed, and on October 29, 1923, the country received republican status and its first president, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. In 1923, after the victory over the invaders, Turkey became a secular republic. Mustafa Kemal proposed moving the capital to Ankara, and Constantinople was once again renamed Istanbul, while Constantinople retained its role as the most important city in the country since March 1930, the city has been officially called Istanbul. There are many versions of the origin of this word. The first says that the word is a calque from the Turkish Istanbul, translated as City of Islam, or Islam is here. Our first stop is the heart of Istanbul, the historic Sultanahmet district. Here, side by side, stand two of the city's greatest architectural monuments, the Blue Mosque and Hagia Sophia. The Sultanahmet district of Istanbul is one of the places that no tourist who finds themselves in this city should miss. After all, almost every building, every street in Sultanahmet is a historical and cultural landmark. It is not for nothing that the old city of Istanbul is included in the list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Here, the history of two empires comes to life at once, the Byzantine and Ottoman. Here you can travel in time, and immerse yourself in the Oriental flavor, and enjoy Turkish delicacies, and admire the picturesque views. There are activities for every taste. The district owes its name to the Sultanahmet Mosque or Blue Mosque, built by order of Sultan Ahmet I. In ancient times, the palaces of the Byzantine emperors were located here, which were destroyed by the Ottoman conquerors. It was here that the luxurious Grand Imperial Palace towered, where the rulers of the empire lived and fateful decisions for the country were made. The remains of the luxury of the past, namely fragments of unique palace mosaics and preserved fragments of decoration, can be seen today in the Museum of Mosaics of the Grand Palace. The famous Hippodrome of Constantinople adjoined the emperor's palace, where sports competitions, chariot races, popular at that time, theatrical performances, festivals, and the most important public city events were held. It is on the site of the Byzantine Hippodrome that a significant part of the modern Sultanahmet Square is located today. Over time, the appearance of the Hippodrome gradually changed. Many architectural objects were destroyed or removed, and today in the Hippodrome Square one can see only a few structures that remind one of the former glory of this once majestic place: the Egyptian obelisk, the serpent column, the obelisk of Constantine. Sultanahmet is the main mosque of Istanbul, a masterpiece of Islamic architecture and one of the symbols of the city. It is famous for its unique mosaics and 6 minarets. The mosque is named Ahmet I or Sultanahmet in honor of Sultan Ahmet I, who built it after a series of military failures. The Blue Mosque was built in the 17th century 1603 to 1617 by an architect named Sedefkar Mehmet Aga, a student of the architect Mehmet Sinan, by order of Sultan Ahmet I. The name of the mosque comes from the blue Iznik ceramic tiles handmade by hand that were used in the interior. This is a huge structure that can accommodate up to 10,000 people. The diameter of the dome of the Sultanahmet Mosque is 23.5 m, and its height is 43 m. The temple, built during the Ottoman Empire, is a mixture of two styles, classical Ottoman and Byzantine. It has become an exemplary masterpiece of world architecture. Until 2019, the Blue Mosque was the only mosque in the world with 6 minarets, but in 2019, a mosque with 6 minarets called the Kamlika Mosque was also built on Kamlika Hill on the Asian side of Istanbul. The Blue Mosque amazes with its beauty and grandeur. Be sure to go inside to admire its exquisite tiles. And opposite rises Hagia Sophia, a witness of entire eras. Hagia Sophia was built during the Byzantine Empire. In 324, the cathedral was repaired and restored many times. The name Hagia Sophia comes from the Greek words Gamma Alpha Sigma Omicron Phi Alpha, which means holy wisdom. In Byzantium, the cathedral was dedicated to holy wisdom, one of the faces of God in Christianity. It was in Hagia Sophia in 1054 that an event took place that marked the beginning of the division of the Christian Church into Catholic and Orthodox. After the conquest of Constantinople by the Turks, they did not destroy the majestic structure, but turned it into a mosque, which it remained until the beginning of the 20th century. In 1934, the mosque became a museum of national importance and remained so until 2020. Over its 1,500-year history, the Hagia Sophia Mosque Hagia Sophia Camii, known as the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, has lived several lives. It was an Orthodox church, a symbol of the heyday of Byzantium, then it became a mosque, then a museum. In 2020, the Turkish president returned its religious status by decree. And, of course, you can't miss the Topkapi Palace, the residence of the Ottoman sultans. Here you can immerse yourself in luxury and learn a lot about the history of the Ottoman Empire. Topkapi is the main palace of the Ottoman Empire until the mid-19th century. It is located in the historical center of Istanbul, on Cape Sereburnu, where the Bosphorus and the Golden Horn flow into the Sea of Marmara. After the fall of the Ottoman Empire, the palace was turned into a museum, one of the largest in the world in terms of area. Topkapi Palace is the place from where the sultans decided the fate of the Ottoman Empire for 400 years. Surrounded by a strong fortress wall, it has reliably kept its secrets for centuries. Spread over an area of about 700,000 square meters, Topkapi in Istanbul is more like a small city, where there was everything, from the treasury to the kitchens, from the chancery and the treasury to the harem, which in the heyday of the empire was of great importance for the entire country. The history of Topkapi Palace in Istanbul begins in the 15th century, when Constantinople passed to the Ottoman Turks after the fall of the Byzantine Empire. Sultan Mehmed II needed a new residence after the conquest, since nothing remained of the old palace. The most famous palace of the Ottoman rulers was built 25 years after the fall of Constantinople, in 1453. At first, a small mansion was built for Sultan Mehmed II, who conquered the capital of the Byzantine Empire, on Bayezid Square, but in 1465 he ordered the construction of a more spacious palace. The building began to be erected on the ruins of the Byzantine palace, and the work was completed only in 1478. The palace was called Topkapi, which means cannon gate in Turkish. It's all about an unusual tradition: when the ruler left or returned, cannons that stood near the gate fired. The main residence of the Ottomans occupied an area of 700,000 square meters, and the entire territory was protected by a wall 1,400 meters long. In fact, it was a real city within a city. Up to 5,000 people could live inside. There were kitchens, stables, outbuildings, a weapons warehouse, a garden with fountains and flower beds. Later, the palace complex grew and became richer. Its total area was 700,000 square meters. Over the course of 4 centuries, 25 sultans lived here, until one of them, Abdülmecid, wanted to move to a new palace, Dolmabahce. Since then, the residents of the rulers moved there. At the beginning of the 20th century, the system of government of the country changed. In 1922, the Ottoman Sultanate ceased to exist, and with the coming to power of the Republicans and the world-famous Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, museum was opened in Topkapi in 1924 for everyone. Today, the palace complex is a museum, one of the most popular in Istanbul. Every year, about 2 million tourists visit it. On the territory of Topkapi there are many interesting buildings from different eras. Here are ancient towers that remember Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror, and one of the oldest Byzantine churches, preserved from the times of Constantinople, and a labyrinth of rooms of the Sultan's harem, built here in the 16th century, and amazingly beautiful elegant rooms for audiences, receptions and meetings of viziers, and monumental gates, and exquisite pavilions of the palace garden. And now let's go for a walk along the Bosphorus. This is a unique opportunity to see Istanbul from a different side, admire its picturesque shores and feel the connection between Europe and Asia. The Bosphorus Strait is a unique phenomenon in the world. This is the place where Europe meets Asia not only geographically, but also culturally. Here the historical and cultural customs of the two parts of the world are intertwined. In addition, the Bosphorus also serves as an indispensable transport artery. Ships sailing along it significantly shorten their journey. And, most importantly for tourists, the Bosphorus is the heart of multi-million Istanbul, a city that attracts people from all over the planet. The Bosphorus is one of the main waterways of Turkey. It is the border between Europe and Asia. The Bosphorus connects the Black Sea with the Sea of Marmara, and on both its banks there are districts of Istanbul. Its depth is 124 meters, the length is 30 kilometers, and the width varies from 4 kilometers to 750 meters, which makes the Bosphorus the narrowest strait in the world and the most difficult to pass. The name was changed to Martyrs Bridge after the Turkish military attempted to overthrow the government on July 15, 2016. Now the structure ranks 22nd in the world in size, and when it was commissioned in 1973, it was in 4th place in length among suspension bridges. The Bosphorus Strait is of great strategic importance. A number of military conflicts have aimed to establish control over the strait, in particular the Russo-Turkish War, as well as the Battle of Gallipoli in 1915. The Treaty of Lausanne of 1923 allowed free passage of military and commercial vessels through the strait. However, according to the Montreux Convention of 1936, Turkey has the right to restrict the passage of ships from non-Black Sea states. In 2016, the Eurasian Tunnel was opened, part of which, namely 3,340 meters, passes under the Bosphorus. The maximum underwater depth is 106 meters. Sites on the shores of the Bosphorus. The Maiden Tower stands on the border of the Bosphorus and the Sea of Marmara on a small island of rocks. At first, it served as a lighthouse and signal tower, where since the time of Constantinople a fire was kept for passing ships. Now it is known as one of the symbols of Istanbul. The palace complexes of the Turkish Ottoman rulers Topkapi, Dolmabahce and Beylerbey amaze the imagination with subtle oriental exoticism, beautiful architecture and rich interior decoration. Children will immerse themselves in the atmosphere of exquisite oriental life and customs. The fortresses of Anadolu Hisari and Rumeli Hisari were built by the Ottomans in 1391 and 1452 to control the strait from enemy fleet attacks. These strict and gloomy structures will appeal more to boys who are interested in military history and exploits. Today, more than 15 million people live in Istanbul, some of whom see the waters of the strait from their windows every day. Living on the shore is prestigious, so there are many mansions along it. The embankments are always bustling with life, city residents and visitors admire the local beauty from the terraces of local restaurants. And, of course, the views of the Bosphorus are well known to every fan of Turkish TV series, because not a single popular soap opera can do without shots of stunning landscapes. Previously, the only way to get from the Asian part of Istanbul to the European part and vice versa was by water, but over time bridges were built in its narrowest parts. There are 3 of them in the city now. The first modern bridge across the strait was opened in 1973, to mark the 50th anniversary of the founding of the Turkish Republic. Today, the Bosphorus Suspension Bridge, connecting the Ortaköy and Üsküdar districts, is one of the most recognizable city landmarks. Initially, it was designed only for pedestrians, but in the end it turned out to be completely occupied by car lanes. Its main span, hanging over the water, is 1,074 meters long, and the total length of the roadway is 1.5 kilometers. This bridge is located closest to the central districts of Istanbul. Fatih Sultan Mehmed Bridge. It was built as an auxiliary bridge in just 2.5 years to relieve the only bridge in Istanbul, facilitate the transportation of passengers by ferry and connect the shores of Europe and Asia for automobile transport. The structure was named after the Turkish Sultan Mehmed Fatih, who captured Constantinople and renamed it Istanbul. The construction cost $12 million, and it was entrusted to Turkish, Italian and Japanese firms. It is located 5 kilometers north of the first Bosphorus Bridge. The E5 highway runs along it. The distance between the supports is 1,090 m, they rise 110 m. The height of the bridge deck above the water level is 64 m. Entry to the bridge is toll, over 150,000 cars and 500,000 passengers pass through it per day. In each direction there are 4 lanes for main traffic and 1 additional lane for emergency services. Yavuz Sultan Selim Terrible Bridge. This bridge is located outside of Istanbul, beyond its northern outskirts, near the shores of the Black Sea. The first stone in the foundation of the bridge was laid on the anniversary of the conquest of Constantinople. It was built in 3 years and began to be used in 2016 to relieve traffic congestion in the city. The bridge was named after the Ottoman Sultan Selim. The structure connects sections of the Ring Road No. 6 in Turkey, located on different continents. There are 8 lanes for cars and 2 railway lines. This bridge is a unique engineering solution. It is the widest in the world, 58.4 m, and its supports are the highest, 322 m. The length of the bridge span is 1,408 m, the 9th longest in the world. The originality of the structure is that cables are attached to the supports, which can withstand the weight of the span located above the strait. The bridge was designed by French and Swiss designers, and construction cost $3 million. The city, located on the banks of the strait, lies not only on 2 banks, but also on 2 continents. Trade routes from Asia to Europe and vice versa have long passed through it. That is why transport problems were very acute for Istanbul, and the Turks began building underwater overpasses for cars and railway cars. The Marmara Tunnel was created for a suburban train line. It connects both parts of Istanbul and shortens the distance that city residents had to travel to cross the Bosphorus. Its construction took almost 11 years and cost Turkey $3.5 billion, and the costs of connecting new tracks to existing ones entailed expenses of another $1.5 billion. This project was developed and implemented by Japanese builders. The tunnel is designed to withstand even strong earthquakes, up to 9 points on the Richter scale. Eurasia. The successful construction of the underwater metro line gave rise to the idea of building a new underwater tunnel for motor vehicles. It was laid in 2014, and 3 years later the construction was completed. $1.3 billion was spent on the construction, and the work was carried out by Turkish and Korean contractors. This route is called the widest and deepest, as well as resistant to seismic activity and tsunami waves. It has 2 tiers for the passage of cars and minibuses. The speed is strictly limited, no more than 70 km/h. The length of the route is 5.4 kilometers, and the duration of the journey is 15 minutes. A fee is charged for traveling through the tunnel, and travel is possible every day at any time of the day. Today's Bosphorus is not only historical landmarks, but also a whole string of scientific achievements. These are 3 suspension bridges and 2 underwater tunnels. They cannot fail to amaze even those kids living in megacities. Luxurious mansions stretch along the banks of the Bosphorus, many of which belong to celebrities and oligarchs. The Bosphorus is not only a strait that separates the European part of Turkey from the Asian part and connects the Black Sea with the Sea of Marmara. It is an important part of Istanbul and its history. If you have time, be sure to book a sunset cruise on the Bosphorus. It's an unforgettable sight. And now we are heading to the very heart of Istanbul trade, the Grand Bazaar. Here you can find absolutely everything, from spices and sweets to jewelry and carpets. The main thing, do not be shy about bargaining. An Oriental fairy tale, unthinkable without a bazaar filled with noise, laughter, bright colorful goods, aromas of Oriental spices and unforgettable emotions, has come to life and is located in the very center of Istanbul, in the Sultanahmet area, about a kilometer from Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque. This is the famous Grand Bazaar, a real Oriental market, which is a huge square, spread over many city blocks, covered with arches, roofs, etc. This entire building dates back to 1461. In the local language, the Grand Bazaar is translated as Kapla Çarşı covered market. It is open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. The market is closed on Sundays and holidays. The Grand Bazaar in Istanbul is one of the largest covered markets in the world, which has long been a popular attraction of Old Istanbul. The covered labyrinths occupy an area of 30,700 square meters. This is a real mini-city, with streets, of which there are 66. And the number of all kinds of stores has long exceeded 4,000. Even if shopping is not in your plans, this place is a must-see. Walking along the noisy streets, you will immerse yourself in the atmosphere of real Oriental flavor. The Grand Bazaar is not just a market, it is a real city within a city with a centuries-old history. And what would a trip to Istanbul be without trying Turkish cuisine? Be sure to try kebab, doner and, of course, Turkish pizza, lahmacun. And for dessert, baklava. It is incredibly delicious here. And do not forget about Turkish tea and coffee. This is an integral part of Turkish culture. Turkish cuisine is a rich mix of Islamic, Caucasian and Balkan culinary traditions, with unique features that have formed over the centuries. The most famous and popular are meat dishes, especially kebabs, as well as a variety of meat appetizers, soups, pastries, and desserts. Traditional Istanbul cuisine is a combination of Ottoman, Mediterranean and Balkan culinary traditions, reflecting the rich cultural heritage of the city. Istanbul is famous for its variety of dishes, from street food to exquisite desserts, and offers a wide selection of both meat and vegetarian dishes. Turks care about their health. Most dishes include healthy and dietary products. At the same time, the main ingredients meat, fish, vegetables, etc. are usually not fried, but stewed or boiled. Fried and fatty dishes are only a small part of Turkish cuisine. Turkish cuisine is famous for its variety of kebabs, which are prepared on a grill, spit or frying pan. Among them are, shish kebab shashlik, doner kebab shawarma, Adana kebab minced meat, Iskandar kebab with yogurt and sauce. Also popular are cutlets keft, dolma minced meat with rice and vegetables and grape or cabbage leaves, karnıyarık eggplant with meat stuffing. Traditional soups are made from lamb, lentils, chicken and tripe. Features of Turkish cuisine, use of fresh products and seasonal vegetables. Rich in spices, but used in moderation. Popularity of yogurt and olive oil. Prohibition of pork for religious purposes. Influence of Ottoman cuisine and culinary traditions of neighboring regions. Traditions of serving and hospitality. Istanbul's street food culture is another chapter worth exploring. There's much to discover, with each region having its own unique taste story. Simit, a staple of the world-famous Turkish breakfast, is perhaps Istanbul's most popular and ubiquitous street snack. The classic simit is a ring-shaped bread, about 15 centimeters in diameter, covered in sesame seeds, crispy on the outside and soft and chewy on the inside. Doner is known far beyond the country's borders. Doner, which means upside down, refers to a method of cooking seasoned, thinly sliced beef, lamb, or chicken that is grilled on a vertical spit. While high-end versions of the dish may feature caramelized slices of meat on a bed of rice, in Istanbul, the street version is typically served wrapped in a thin flatbread or stuffed bun with lettuce, tomato, and perhaps sauce. Roasted chestnuts are another great taste to try in Istanbul, especially in winter. As soon as the weather gets cooler, mobile carts with roasted chestnuts start appearing all over the city. Discussions of Istanbul street food almost always revolve around balık ekmek, fish and bread. Made with fried fish and served with onions and herbs in a crispy bun, these fish sandwiches are an unforgettable treat. Nutritious, healthy, and affordable, fish sandwiches are a favorite of Istanbul residents and tourists alike. Balık ekmek are incredibly tempting in seaside neighborhoods like Karaköy and Eminönü, where you can enjoy the sandwich with views of the Bosphorus and the Sea of Marmara. Turkish coffee. The oldest coffee-drinking people in the world are the Turks. The first coffee beans, originating from Yemen and Ethiopia, arrived in Istanbul in the 16th century by order of the Sultan. After the arrival of coffee, countless coffee shops appeared in Istanbul. The Turks loved this drink so much that they drank 1 cup of this coffee after breakfast to start the day with more energy. There are several traditions associated with coffee. For example, before the wedding, when the families of the bride and groom meet for the first time, the bride is asked to make coffee. This will be the first impression of the bride in the new family. There is even a Turkish expression, 1 cup of coffee, 40 years of friendship. Tea. If you ask what is the most common drink in Turkey, the answer will be tea, not water. Despite the fact that tea cultivation in Turkey began in the late 70s, Turkey has become one of the largest consumers of tea. Turks would never have breakfast without tea. There is no real time for tea, when you see a friend, during work, when you have guests, in the evening with family and so on. The most common drink with kebab in Turkey is ayran. This is yogurt with water and salt, which is a must-try in Turkey. We strongly advise tourists to try at least once a traditional Turkish breakfast, which is not at all like a European breakfast. This is a national tradition and a real parade of dishes, which sometimes do not even have enough space on the table. Vegetables, eggs in different forms, sausages and sausages, cheese, honey, jam, butter, fruits, flatbreads and much more are served for breakfast. Climb the Galata Tower for a panoramic view of Istanbul. The view of the city is stunning. Galata Tower, an architectural gem standing tall in Istanbul, stands proudly above the bustling districts of Beyoğlu and Karaköy from its strategic location. Its mesmerizing charm, especially when brightly lit at night, has made it one of the most famous tourist attractions in the city. A prominent landmark visible from various corners of Istanbul, Galata Tower becomes an inevitable destination for every visitor exploring the city's bustling streets such as Taksim and Eminönü. Whether it's its rich history, unique geometric shape or its excellent geographical location, Galata Tower is always on the must-see list of tourists in Istanbul. The Galata Tower in its current form was built by the Genoese in the mid-14th century. At that time, however, it had a different name, literally, the Tower of Christ, and its construction was intended to perpetuate the fact of the expansion of the Genoese colonies of Constantinople. The current tower was built in 1348 by the Genoese and was called the Tower of Christ. During the Ottoman era, the tower was used as a prison in the 16th century, for the Ottoman military orchestra in the 18th century and as a fire tower in the 19th century. In 1632, the tower witnessed a unique event. Ahmet Çelebi managed to fly from the top of the tower, located on the European side, to the coast of Üsküdar on the Asian side on homemade wings. During the reign of Sultan Murad III, the tower was used as an observatory. It has a stunning 360-degree panoramic view of the city. Built in the 14th century, the tower is an old Genoese tower overlooking beautiful Istanbul and has a massive cone-shaped structure. The tower is 67 meters high and has a diameter of 9 meters. The tower offers stunning views of the historic city center and the Bosphorus. Today, the Galata Tower is a popular tourist attraction, as its observation deck offers a 360-degree view of Istanbul. From the observation deck of the Galata Tower, you will get an emotional charge and take uniquely beautiful photos. From here, you have an unforgettable view of all of Istanbul. There are 2 elevators at the entrance that will take you to the top. At the top, there is also a cafe and restaurant with a beautiful view where visitors can eat, as well as a souvenir shop at the entrance to the tower. Next to the Galata Tower is the Beyoğlu district, with its main street Istiklal. It is always noisy and fun. The Beyoğlu district of Istanbul is one of the central districts that embodies the diversity of spirit with its ancient historical character and modern quarters, and it is one of the districts that distinguishes the whole city. Beyoğlu is one of the main districts of the European side of Istanbul. It is home to many important tourist and cultural attractions that unite many cultures. Beyoğlu is a unique place that combines historical civilization and modern life. Beyoğlu district is one of the most important districts in the center of Istanbul. It is a high-class tourist district where the oldest and most ancient quarters of Istanbul are located, as well as the most important tourist attractions of Istanbul. Beyoğlu is the heart of European Istanbul. Its area is 8.66 square kilometers and the population is 226,396. Beyoğlu is one of the most important tourist districts, as it is home to the famous Taksim Square and Istiklal Street, which is visited by tourists from all over the world, as it is the most important attraction of Istanbul. This area is home to many restaurants, cafes and shops of the world's most famous brands, so it is an ideal place for those who want to shop in Istanbul. There are also hotels in this area, so it is a popular place for tourists. In addition, this area is home to the Galata Tower, the most famous landmark of Istanbul, as well as the Galataport Mall, the newest and most beautiful project in Istanbul. It includes shops, restaurants and cafes overlooking the sea and the Bosphorus. There is also a cruise ship station here, from where you can take a luxurious excursion along the Bosphorus. The colorful street, Istiklal Avenue, is located between Tunnel and Taksim Square, is a symbol of Turkey. The street is intended exclusively for pedestrian movement. The only means of transport here is a retro tram. Life and movement on Istiklal does not fade away around the clock. There are many places for entertainment, cozy cafes and restaurants, conceptual bars, shopping arcades and art and culture centers, museums and attractions. On the avenue you can also see the most important institutions of Turkey, such as the Galatasaray Lyceum or the former imperial school of the Galata Palace. During a walk along Istiklal, you can take pictures of the famous nostalgic tram or even ride it, jumping on it right on the move. The length of its route is only 1.6 kilometers, it runs from Tunnel Station to Taksim Square every 10 minutes. Travel can be paid for with the Istanbul Kart card. Taksim Square, the central square of Istanbul, located at the end of the street of the same name, is home to many expensive hotels, shops and restaurants. It often hosts festive events and various rallies, it is always crowded and noisy, and it is here that the nostalgic tram line runs. Along with art centers, there are many cultural monuments and historical sites. Since 1928, the 12-meter-high Republic Monument, created by the Italian sculptor Pietro Canonica, has stood in the center of the square. The pedestal depicts numerous figures of liberating heroes, including Kemal Ataturk himself. In addition to this monument, which has become a symbol of the square, you can also visit the Holy Trinity Monastery or the Hagia Triada Church. It is the first Christian church with a dome built in Istanbul in modern times. After visiting the street and walking around the square, you can relax in Gezi Park to gain strength for new travels around Istanbul. Istanbul is a city located in both Europe and Asia, with a Mediterranean climate. Any season is suitable for exploring the local attractions. A trip to Istanbul in winter will be a very unusual experience, especially if it snows in the city during your visit. Not everyone gets to see Istanbul's mosques and palm trees in the snow. The coldest months are December and January. The shortest daylight hours are in December, only 9.5 hours. The winter wind in Istanbul is sharp and cold, it blows from the northeast and is called Poyraz. Summer in Istanbul is usually hot, but high temperatures are easier to bear due to the proximity of the strait and the seas. A light breeze almost always blows in the city. In the height of summer, thermometers during the day reach plus 35 C, but this does not scare off tourists, the number of which only increases in July-August. In summer it is nice to take a boat ride along the Bosphorus or even swim in the Black or Marmara Sea. Subscribe to my channel, like and comment. Until next time.
Uzak yolda yeşil